Welcome back to MTN Fantasy Football. We have a video of starts and sits and concerns for week number 10. If you enjoy the content, leave a like and subscribe. So hopefully you guys enjoy, and let's get into it. So as you guys know, I like to hold myself accountable on here, and we got more stuff right than wrong last week, but the stuff I got wrong was very bad. Like sitting James Conner, very bad idea. It was a terrible matchup, and Chase Edmonds was healthy at this time last week, but that really backfired. Even Devontae Smith, who had a bad matchup, still found a way to put up like 5 catches, 120 yards, and a touchdown, so he definitely outperformed what I expected. And the quarterbacks, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, I felt really good about that one 3 quarters through that game, and then in garbage time really saved his day. But Justin Herbert was phenomenal the entire day, so hopefully things get better this week, but let's get into the starts. Number 1, Carson Wentz. Once again, he's against the Jacksonville Jaguars at home this week, and Carson Wentz has been on fire. 6 straight games with multiple touchdown passes. I think he has 3 touchdowns in his past 3 games, so Carson Wentz has been that guy recently. Jacksonville's defense is still allowing 19 points per game to the quarterback position, despite holding Josh Allen to like 10 points last week, so their defense against the pass and quarterbacks is not very good, as we know. And Jacksonville's defense is second worst in the NFL at allowing explosive plays on passing plays, so Carson Wentz could have some big plays in this one, and I think he's a pretty nice start here in week number 10 once again. Next, we have D'Ernest Johnson, running back for the Cleveland Browns. He was relevant a few weeks ago when Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt were out. Well, Kareem Hunt's still out, and Nick Chubb does have COVID right now. Well, he has tested positive for COVID. So I do believe that if Nick Chubb and the other running backs test negative today and tomorrow, they will be eligible to play on Sunday. But if these guys are out, D'Ernest Johnson may see 90% of the work in the Browns' backfield against the New England Patriots, so it would be an awesome play. Last time D'Ernest Johnson was a starter for Cleveland, he had 22 carries, 146 yards, and a touchdown on that Thursday night game against the Broncos, so we know he can get it done. So not only is Nick Chubb possibly out, but it could be Demetric Felton and John Kelly, who's the practice squad running back. So it might be all D'Ernest Johnson here in week number 10. Now, the Browns have the number 3 run-blocking offensive line according to PFF. The matchup against New England is not great, but also not terrible. They're league average against running backs. So if D'Ernest Johnson's the starter and nobody else is really active at running back for them, he will see about 90% of the work, maybe even more, and it'll be a really good play based on volume here in week number 10. Just to follow up on D'Ernest Johnson, I got news right as I was about to upload, actually, so thank God I saw it. But Nick Chubb and Demetric Felton are not going to clear COVID protocol, so D'Ernest Johnson will be the starter in week number 10, so feel good about him. Start him in week 10 here. Next, we have Melvin Gordon, running back of the Denver Broncos, and I'm not the biggest Melvin Gordon guy, but I got to be honest, he's looked pretty damn good lately, and this is an awesome matchup here against the Philadelphia Eagles. So Philly allows nearly 20 points per game to running backs in fantasy. That's a great matchup, of course, and game script should be neutral. I do believe Denver was a -3 last time I looked, so they should be ahead, and it should be a close game. So it's a good game script for the running back position. I think Javonte Williams, the backup for Denver, well, technically backup because they both pretty much, split snaps 50-50, but Javonte Williams is also a good start this week. But Melvin Gordon has been seeing more work in the receiving game. He's taking more advantage of that. So Melvin Gordon, I think, is the safer play right now, but both have great matchups and both are playable here in week number 10. Next, we have running back J.D. Mckissick for the Washington football team. Mckissick has been playing a lot more lately. So Mckissick used to be a guy playing like 30% of snaps. He's played like over 60 the past 3 games. He's actually led Washington in snap percentage the past 3 games for them. So it has not been Antonio Gibson. It has not been Jarrett Patterson. And as we know, Tampa's run defense is very good. They're second best against the run in the NFL right now, just trailing the Saints. And it's going to be a tough game probably for Antonio Gibson and Jarrett Patterson, more of the in-between the tackles runners. But for a receiving back like a J.D. Mckissick here, it should be a good matchup here. Tampa Bay's defense allows over 7 receptions per game to the running back position. That's one of the highest marks in the NFL for NFL defenses. And Washington presumably should be playing from behind most of this game. I picked Washington to cover, but right now they are a +9.5, so almost 10-point underdogs against Tampa Bay. So they should be playing from behind. McKissick is seeing the snap counts, and Tampa Bay's defense is allowing a lot of receptions to the running back position. So if you have McKissick in any type of PPR league, he should be a pretty safe play with a decently high ceiling in week number 10. Next, we have Brandon Ayuk. He's back from the dead, the 49ers wide receiver. I'm thinking of like that Undertaker meme where he just like rises out of the casket and has like that look on his face. That's what kind of Brandon Ayuk feels like right now. Anyway, Ayuk is now playing more. It seemed like he was in Kyle Shanahan's doghouse. The rumor was because he was not really going hard in practice. I think they had a talk, and now he's actually playing well in practice, whatever the hell that means. And now he's playing more for the 49ers. He's now seeing the targets once again. So if Jalen Ramsey is on Deebo Samuel most of the game, which probably should happen, I think most teams will look at Samuel as a better wide receiver, then it should be softer coverage for a guy like Brandon Ayuk. And the Rams cornerback too, Darius Williams, has a 60.4 coverage grade according to PFF, so it should be a good matchup for Ayuk if he gets one-on-one opportunities, and he has seen more work recently. I can't say he's the safest play in the world, but the matchup makes sense. In the past 2 games, he's been a lot more involved. So if you have Brandon Ayuk and you don't have many other great options, I think Ayuk deserves to be in your lineup this week. Next, we have Hunter Renfro. He's facing the Kansas City Chiefs, going back to the well. I had Renfro on here last week. He came through, thank God, had like 17 points in full PPR, I believe. So Hunter Renfro will be in the slot most of the time, as we know, and the slot corner for KC is L'Jarius Sneed, a prospect that I liked, but he's having a down year in 2021, had a great rookie year, but a down year so far in 2021 in coverage. So Renfro should be in a matchup where it's high scoring against Kansas City, so we know Las Vegas puts up points. We know Kansas City can put up points. Should be a high scoring game here. And Renfro has at least 8 targets in 4 of his past 5 games. Of course, with Henry Ruggs being out, yes, Deshaun Jackson's there, but once again, I don't buy that whole thing. We'll see how much he plays, honestly. But Darren Waller sees an uptick. Hunter Renfro sees an uptick. Bryan Edwards sees an uptick. So, I think those guys, I'm not saying Edwards, but Waller and Renfro are really great starts this week, honestly. And he practiced in full on Thursday, so his ankle issue should not be a concern. I think Hunter Renfro, once again, has a pretty high floor, but his ceiling is not that bad in a high-scoring matchup against the Chiefs. Next, we have tight end Noah Fant of the Denver Broncos. They play the Philadelphia Eagles once again. Noah Fant missed last week with COVID, so hopefully he's good this week. He should be good to go, honestly. So Noah Fant, his backup, Albert Okawanu something, I don't know, I can't pronounce it. Anyway, so Albert O did return to practice yesterday. I would have felt better about Fant if he did not come back and Albert O missed this week, but Fant either way has a great matchup. Philadelphia allows the second most points to tight ends in 2021. Philadelphia also allows 7.4 receptions per game to tight ends. That's the most in the NFL. So it's a great matchup for Noah Fant and even Albert O if you're in like a 20-team league, sure to go ahead. But Noah Fant should have a pretty nice game, I would think, and I think Fant's floor is hopefully safe in this matchup. Next, we have another tight end, Dan Arnold, who plays the Indianapolis Colts. I've talked about Arnold on here before. I like him a lot, honestly. He's not like a tight end, not a top 5 tight end, but he's in that low-end tight end 1 tier, honestly. So Dan Arnold has been seeing more targets. He has 17 targets the past 2 games. That's great volume for a tight end, of course. And Indy's allowing 6 catches and 60 yards to the tight end position per game this year, so the matchup is good, of course. And Indy should be playing from ahead most of this game. It's hard to find reliable tight ends right now in fantasy, but I think Dan Arnold, for a guy you can pick up off waivers, is pretty damn reliable. If the targets are there, then you might as well go with him. Marvin Jones has not been great lately. Laviska Shenault has not been great lately. And Dan Arnold continues to be that consistent guy who's getting the targets for this team. And, it's a great matchup. So I think Dan Arnold is probably not going to have the highest ceiling. His ceiling might be 15 points, but he should get you 8 to 12 points, somewhere in there. So he'll be a fine tight end, and hopefully he won't kill you this week in week 10. Next, we have a guy who I did not expect to talk about this year, but Tyler Johnson, wide receiver of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is only in deeper leagues, I would say 12 teams minimum. So if you're in a 14, 16 team league, maybe a 12, because some benches in 12 team leagues are terrible right now. But Tyler Johnson might be a sneaky start here in week number 10. So Antonio Brown has been ruled out today. Chris Godwin is an actual game time decision. So if Chris Godwin's out and AB is out, Tyler Johnson's going to be on the field a lot in this game. Tyler Johnson, since Antonio Brown has been out, has played 67% of snaps and 64% of snaps. So he'll move up even more and play more snaps if Chris Godwin's out. That's what we think, at least. So Johnson had a 5-catch for 65-yard performance last game for Tampa on 6 targets. That was with Chris Godwin playing, so once again, he could see more volume if Godwin's out. And majority of attention in this game will be at Mike Evans. So once again, Tampa has a situation where I think Gronk is out too. I'm pretty sure Gronk is out. So Gronk is out, Godwin might be out, and Antonio Brown is out. So it's just Mike Evans and a bunch of dudes. And, Tyler Johnson is in that category of bunch of dudes, but he's the best one out of that bunch of dudes. So he should be a pretty nice start, honestly. It's a sneaky one, and it is risky, I get it, but just based on the matchup and all the things going on with the injuries there, he could have a nice game against Washington. Next, we have Pat Friarmuth. He's back again. This time against the Detroit Lions. So Pat Friarmuth has seen 6+ targets in 3 straight games. Now, Eric Ebron should return to the lineup here for Pittsburgh, but it does not scare me. Eric Ebron is in this revenge game against the former team he was drafted by, the Detroit Lions, but it doesn't scare me. I think Pat Friarmuth has shown enough where he is now the tight end 1 on this team. Ben Roethlisberger trusts him, which is definitely important. And Pat Friarmuth has had 4 red zone targets in the past 2 games, so good volume there when they get close to the end zone. Should have some touchdown upside. Detroit allows almost 4 catches, 52 yards per game to the tight end position. So it's a pretty good matchup here for Friarmuth, and Ben Roethlisberger trusts him, and it should be another game where the Steelers hopefully put up over 20 points. You can't trust that offense, but they should be able to do that against a Detroit Lions defense that is not good. So Pat Friarmuth could be another really good start here in week number 10. For the week 10 sits/concerns, we'll go over the, which is which. Anyway, so number 1 is Nahim Heinz, a guy that I probably would sit in most cases here. So the Jaguars defense has only allowed 32.9 receiving yards per game to the running back position. Now, why is this? Probably because Jacksonville is playing from behind most times, and teams don't see the need to check down to their running backs. I feel like that benefits a lot of teams when they're trailing. So the Colts should be ahead in this game. I don't see Nahim Heinz having a big game once again. He's done this before, where Nahim Heinz had a huge week number 2 or week 3 and then did nothing for 5 straight weeks. So I would not fall back into the trap just because he had a good game last Thursday night. Next, we have Adrian Peterson, Tennessee Titans running back. So it is a revenge game against the Saints, because remember, AP was a Saint for 5 games? So it is a revenge game technically. Now, the Saints have the best rush defense in the NFL right now. So unless Adrian Peterson finds the end zone, which he could, I don't think he's going to be a great play. So you're kind of praying for a touchdown, and I feel like there's probably other better options that are on your bench or on your team in general. Next, we have James Robinson, who, yes, is a concern. I can't see myself benching James Robinson unless I have a team that's 9-0 and the best team in my fantasy league. But still, James Robinson has a tough matchup here. Indy has allowed the 3rd fewest fantasy points per game to running backs this year. Jacksonville should be playing from behind most times, so not many goal line rushes if I had to guess. And he's coming off a heel injury. So, Carlos Hyde may play some this week. I don't know why, but Carlos Hyde seems to be loved by Urban Meyer. So, I still can't see myself benching James Robinson, but it's not the best matchup for him coming off the injury. Next, we have Antonio Gibson, a guy who was taken in the 2nd round in most fantasy drafts. Maybe you took him in the 1st round, but Antonio Gibson has been very disappointing so far. And I talked about my love for J.D. McKissick, and I talked about how tough it is to run between the tackles against this Buccaneers defense, who is 2nd best against the run in the NFL. So this might be a tough matchup for a guy like an Antonio Gibson. I could see myself benching him if I had better options. I know it's tough probably, but there are some guys I'd probably play over Gibson that you wouldn't do most weeks, but this is a very tough matchup, and I feel like kind of like AP, unless Gibson finds the end zone, which he could, he gets a lot of goal line opportunities, I don't see him being a great option this week. Next, we have Tyler Lockett, who is tough to bench. I get it, especially with Russell Wilson coming back, and Lockett just had a huge game last time he played in week number 8, I believe that was. So the Seahawks are coming off their bye. Russell Wilson's back, and you're probably tempted to put him in your lineup, which in most cases you probably will unless you have a great team. But Tyler Lockett is playing a defense in Green Bay that is one of the best at not allowing explosive plays to wide receivers, and Tyler Lockett definitely benefits from those big explosive plays, but Green Bay's defense has been great against that so far. And for his quarterback situation, while Russell Wilson's a GOAT and future Hall of Famer, we don't know what he's going to look like coming off the finger injury. I don't know how deep he can throw the ball. He says he's 90%, but who knows? I have no idea. So it's a little concerning, but I feel like in most cases you probably have to start Tyler Lockett, so just hope for the best with that one. Next, we have Cortland Sutton, who is a guy that I actually could see myself benching. So Cortland Sutton has 9 targets in 3 games where Jerry Jeudy is active this year. So his target share when Jeudy is active sucks. I talked about the great matchup. I talked about the great matchup for Noah Fant. I love that matchup. Jerry Jeudy, I feel like, is higher on the totem pole right now. And even Tim Patrick in a way. Tim Patrick is the big play guy on this team. Not to say Sutton can't do it, but Sutton is a better receiver than Tim Patrick, and he usually gets the better cornerback against him. So Sutton's kind of the odd man out most weeks. He plays Philadelphia's defense, which is still respectable against the pass. So it's a concerning matchup, and I feel like you may have better options than Cortland Sutton on your bench. Next, we have Corey Davis, wide receiver for the New York Jets, and Davis is probably due back this week coming off the injury, but Buffalo's defense has been awesome, especially in the secondary and especially on the outside receivers. They're kind of vulnerable in the slot, but outside receivers like a Corey Davis will probably struggle. He'll probably see Tre'Davious White a lot in this game, and he has a young quarterback in Mike White who's inexperienced and has not played a defense close to the talent level of Buffalo. So this might be a rough game here for Corey Davis. He might survive getting a touchdown, but that's hoping for a lot here, so he'd probably be on my bench this week. Next, we have Jared Cook, tight end for the Los Angeles Chargers. I talked about the tight end position in the starts a lot. There's a lot of great tight end matchups this week, but Jared Cook's a guy who I can't really see myself starting. There's a lot of, mouths to feed here with this Chargers offense, whether it's Keenan Allen or Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, and then you have 3 tight ends and Steven Anderson, Donald Parham, and Jared Cook. So Jared Cook's the highest owned out of all those guys. So with that being said, he's a sit for me, and this is a tough matchup here against Minnesota's defense, which has defended well against fantasy tight ends in 2021. Next, we have the New England Patriots defense, and we look at the Patriots as a great defense for fantasy, which is true most cases, but I don't really see them having a high ceiling in this game because for fantasy defense to be great, they have to get like a turnover for a touchdown or a bunch of sacks and fumbles. I don't see that being the case against the Browns' boring offense that will run the ball probably more than they pass this week, honestly. Like if this is a neutral game script, I could see a situation where the Browns run the ball a bunch of times, like 30 times maybe, and I know they're down a lot of running backs, and that might benefit the New England defense, but I fear that their upside as a defense is not going to be that great. They should have a decent floor. They should have like a 5 or 6 point floor, the New England defense, but if you're playing a defense to get a ton of points, I don't see the Patriots getting a lot this week, and Baker Mayfield is not the most turnover-prone quarterback out there, so I feel like getting a touchdown against them, against the Browns offense, is a tough thing to do, so you might be in a situation where you have to start them, and it's not going to be a bad start. Once again, it should be a 5 or 6 point week if I had to guess, but the opportunity for big turnovers and big sacks and big fumble plays is usually not there against the Browns offense. So that'll do it for this video. As always, leave in the comments any start sit questions you have for me. I'll get back to you and give you an answer. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys next time.